What are you building?
Yeah, okay,
right.
I don't know.
Right.
Saying what's this spin on that?
I'm saying, what are you gaining out of this? I could tell you something. I'm just saying, we will read these things.
So it says the practical takeaways. Keep in mind when you take measures for your health and you're merely fulfilling a mitzvah, not taking charge of life and death, which are only in Hashem's control.
Okay.
I don't know if that satisfied anything.
I'm not sure. Listen, I'm okay.
What's your takeaway?
We'll talk. Okay, you guys ready? We'll talk.
Yeah, I'm just saying we're live.
77. Okay. Yeah?
Yeah.
Sicha Ayin Zayin. Oiz. Strength. So we're going to talk about some strength over here. So let's read through the Sicha. And then we'll come back around. Kola Olam Molei Machlekes. The whole world is filled with Machlekes. Hein Bein Umos HaOlam V'chein B'chol Irir. Whether it's between nations, whether cities are fighting with each other. V'chein B'chol Bayis Ubayis, even in people's homes. Bein Hashchenim, between neighbors they're fighting. Bein Kol Echad Im Yishto, people with their wives. B'nei Beiso, Mashar Sevu Banov, people and their children. The hired help and the children. There's always fights going on. V'ein Mi Sheyatzim Al Libo HaTachlis. And these people are not placing their heart on the end, the tachlis, or the purpose. Okay, we're reading it one time, Pashit. Shebechol yom v'yom hadameis. Each day a person dies. Kayom sha'avar lo yiyeh. The day that's passed, it will not. Huh? Oh, I will yiyeh. Okay. Lo yichye lo yiyeh. It won't be again. Bechol yom hu miskar v'misa. And each day, a person gets closer to death. Okay, again, reading just Pashit. V'da, and you should know, Shakol Echad, it's all one. Shamachlokas shebipratiyos b'nisha beiso ukayotze. Machlokes in the person's house, between him and somebody in his house, his wife, his kids, whatever. The kiyotze kanal hu gam king mamish hamachlokes sheben hamalach hamonus. The machlokes you have in your house is the same exact machlokes between kings and nations. There's no difference. Ki kol echad man shebeiso. Because each person in the house as a bechinas is considered to be like a nation. And they, and they're fighting with each other. Just like there's fights and there's wars between nations. So two people in the house, same thing he says. And each person is able to recognize from which bechina shell, which aspect of the nation. Each person has an aspect of the nation inside of him. Because it's known that each nation has a certain midah that's connected to it, as we saw by the Medrash. Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted to give the Torah, right? Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted to teach, and they say, "What's in it?" And Kadosh Baruch Hu would say to each nation, "Dafka, that midah was difficult for them." I told people from Esav, you can't murder. So each nation has its special midah that it's connected to. Here, a bad midah. Shezakasim. There's a certain nation that they're all angry. They have anger issues. Some are murderers or kiyotze. Each midah, each ummah has its midah. Each person is an ummah. Therefore, each person has one of these things inside. Like you could say, you could find these midas in specifics in each person in the house. And therefore, there's fights. And even if one person doesn't want to fight, in a and he wants to sit quiet in tranquility, even so, still he sometimes just gets forced into a machlokes, into a machama. Like you find sometimes at the wars between kings and nations, sometimes there's a nation in between. They want to be neutral. They don't want to fight with anybody. They give in, they concede, they're willing to bow their heads to the nation. We'll serve you if you want. But even though they're trying to get out of a milchama by again subjugating themselves, nope. Sometimes they get chapped into a milchama, into a war. Because one nation on its left says, this the land is ours. And the other nation on the other side says, no, this land is ours. They're both fighting for the land. Until that middle nation that wanted to just stay in peace, tranquility, until it gets involved in this war. So too, sometimes in the home. Sometimes you have people who want to just stay quiet and sit on the couch and just read, and they get pulled into a fight. Because a person himself is like a small world. And the entire world is inside of this person. A person and his entire house, all the nations are in that house. When the is gone, they're always fighting. Just like all the nations are fighting, so too, each person in the house, each person is considered an ummah. There's always going to be machlokas. Very uplifting, right? He says, "V'alkein lepam kishechad yoshev levado b'yar." It could even be a person says, "Okay, I'm out of here. I'm leaving the house. I'm leaving the whole country. I'm going to sit in the forest." He says, "Right? You think you can get out of it?" Says Ran Nachman, "Yeah, right." He goes to sit in the forest levado by himself. Levado b'yar yochel yoshi and nasim meshuga. Person could go meshuga by himself in a forest. Zenasa machma shu levado. This is because he's by himself. Because he himself he encompasses all the nations inside of him. It's not just you and your bnei beso. Inside of yourself you have all the nations and therefore all the bad midas. This happens because he's by himself, and he's included in all the nations are inside of him. The name is Garm Zemzeh, and they're fighting within him. And he's forced to change each time, depending on the midah that's being triggered at the moment. He's angry, he's tired, he wants this, he wants that. So therefore the nations inside of him are fighting, the because they're all inside of him. You can go crazy. Because all the opposite and switching deus inside of him. They're all because the nations inside of himself are fighting. So you're not potter. You're not potter from achlokas. Not in your house. Not in you run away into the forest. Right? Different voices in your head. So you're like, okay, fine. So I'm going to go back to the fine. If I'm going to go meshugana in the forest, I'll go back to the people. When you sit with people, they're right. Of course, there's a place for machama. There's pashit. There could be war that spreads out between you and the people of the house or the neighbors. So the Maisa, the world is filled with machlokas. You're not really potter. Hamachlokas shebebeis atzadik, even machlokas in the house of a tzaddik. Ugam came bechinas mechamas ha'umos. It's also like world wars. Gam nechlan nisham bechinas mechamas ha'shvatim. Included in this, it's like when tzaddikim potentially are fighting. It's like the mechamas of the shvatim, right? The shvatim are tzaddikim, but yet when they fight with each other, it's just as bad as when nations fight. Shem necham zel zeh Ephraim or Yehuda. Could have the Shevet Ephraim fighting with Yehuda, like Yehotzei. Ukeshiyav Mashiach, he ends off when Mashiach comes. From here b'meinu oz yizbatel kol minei machlokas. Then all types of machlokas will be nullified. V'yeh shalom gadol ba'olam k'mashakasav lo yareh v'lishchisu. There's not going to be any more rot. There's not going to be any more destruction. It will be peace.
Ephraim and Yehuda? What was that? I think they've been Yemen
You were Yisrael and okay. We'll get to that when we get to that. Okay. So there's going to be machlokas. Let's get into it a little bit. So let's go back to the beginning. Right? The whole world is full of machlokas. Different nations are fighting. In people's houses they're fighting. Shchenim, neighbors are fighting. And then he says like this. So he says, if you just read it clearly, the reason why people are fighting, I think this is part of what he's explaining. Why they're fighting is because people are not paying attention to the tachlis. The tachlis of life itself. Right? We went through the whole Sicha, and it seems like it's inevitable that there's going to be fighting. It's inevitable. But we're going to try, at least at the beginning, to try to minimize the fights. And one of the major ways that you can minimize fights is by recognizing that there's a certain purpose here a person's in the world. There's a certain tachlis. And each day a person has to live is the only day, right? Once that day passes, each day that a person has, that once that day is done, it's dead. Because the day that's passed, it will never live again. Right? There's a certain purpose to get to, and each day is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Right? Every moment of life is really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You're never going to get it again. And each day a person is getting closer to Misa. So very pashut. So what are you wasting your time for? So he's saying, if your person would pay attention to the bigger picture, and he would understand that life does end, right? You're not going to live forever. And each moment is trying to lead you to that purpose. Is this machlokas getting you closer to life or is it closer to death? You're going to spend 20 minutes, a half hour, 5 hours, 10 hours a day, a week, a month, 6 months fighting with people. What is the gain? It's getting very bullshit. It's getting closer to the tachlis, or is it just a misa? But people who don't pay attention, people usually don't pay attention to the purpose. They only pay attention. It's funny. Usually we tell people you have to be present, right? Don't worry about the future. Don't have guilt from the past. Be in the present moment. Yeah, nobody can do that. Yeah, when it comes to machlokas, they're only in the present moment. They can't think past this moment. I have to shech this person. I can't. It's never going to be. I have to. It's a funny thing, right? You can't think about past. You can't think about future. I have to think right now because you're on fire, fight or flight. You know, you're very intense. But Rabbi Nachman's saying that if a person wastes his time, and machlokas is one of the biggest wastes of time, pashut suicide. Kipshuto, it's suicide. You're killing that time, right? You've killed those minutes, hours, days, weeks, months. Pashut suicide, or retzicha, because you've killed somebody else's time, right? You chop another guy into a machlokas. You've just killed his time. He's not getting closer to the Tachlis Achaim. He's straying around Narishke. Now, people will rationalize, no, but I have to do it. It's Kedai. The person has to think before you're so quick to rationalize that it's true. Even if you win the fight. Happens all the time, right? Who's a lawyer here? Have any lawyers here? No lawyers here, okay. You have a guy who wants to sue somebody else. Now, what's he suing for? $30,000. But after all the payments he has to make for the lawyers, he's ended up with nothing. Based on, right, if you would think a little bit, and the lawyer says, listen, I don't know, it's going to take this court, that, this, it's going to take this, it's going to cost you $30,000. What are you suing for? $30,000. What are you doing? So even if you win, what'd you gain? Covered. Exactly. Just closer to me.
What happens if the consequences of the reward is much higher than that? And the focus is necessary for an outcome.
Then think about it first. It's possible, but don't jump into it unless you cheshbon the whole thing out. My point is like this: when it's in the monetary terms, they cheshbon. How much is it going to cost? If they're not just so angry, right? How much is it going to cost? How long is this going to take? You get eitzah. It's not worth it. How many times have you ever done that? People come to you and you're like, they will do it anyways.
Yeah.
Why? Out of spite.
Yeah.
It's not right. So it's just misa.
$100,000 to get the 20.
Right. The $100,000 to get the 20 because these people are living lives of death. They just want to hurt other people, or they felt hurt and wrong. Again, not getting into specific situations, but that's a life of misa. You're just killing. You're killing yourself. You're killing yourself to try to kill somebody else. That's what it is. It's like, if I'm going to die, I'm going to take you down with me. That's not life. That person thinks it's life, but we from the outside know that that's crazy. It's Meshuggah. If you look at the word machlokas, the outside letters are what?
Tough.
Mace. You can't get out of it. If you're involved in machlokas, there's misa. Except in one situation. Kol machlokas shi l'shem shemayim, sof l'skayim. If the machlokas is l'shem shemayim, sof l'skayim, it will last. Says some of the Mefarshim means the person will last. He won't die. He won't get affected. So l'shem shemayim, the machlokas won't affect you. V'shein l'shem shemayim, and sof l'skayim. If it's not l'shem shemayim, you're not going to last. Part of you is going to die. That's what happening. You're going to die. Not mamish physically die, even though sometimes people do. Sometimes people get and become sick over their situation. But you've definitely killed that time. If it's not l'shem shemayim, you've killed that time. And we know what's a machlokas l'shem shemayim. Machlokas Hillel v'Shamai. Torah. What's a machlokas shelo l'shem shemayim? Korach v'chol adasa. Not even Moshe. Just Korach and his people. Right? The Mishnah leaves Moshe Rabbeinu around. Because Moshe wasn't fighting with Korach. Korach was fighting with Moshe. Moshe, I don't know what you're talking about. He was Anav Mikoladim. He stayed out of it. He stayed L'Shem Shemayim. So it comes out that which is Mekuyim forever is it's emes. Emestik. Pasuk says Svas emes. This is where the name Svas emes comes from in the Sefer. Svas emes tikun la'ad v'ad argiya loshen shaker. Svas emes, truthfulness, lasts forever. La'ad. But Lashon Sheker, Argia, lasts for a moment. So when it's L'Shem Shemayim, it's emes. It lasts. It lives. The person will not be harmed. If it's not L'Shem Shemayim, then it's Sheker, it will not last. He will not last. He has killed those moments that he's involved in that machlokas. And therefore it's considered as he's dead. So you have to be very careful. I have to prove this person wrong. He's a danger. If it's not l'shem shemayim, then it's a misa. A person has to be very careful to see, is this l'shem shemayim or is not l'shem shemayim? If you have selfish interests and pure, well, that's a mixture of l'shem shemayim and shein l'shem shemayim. So part of you will die. Be very careful. So when it comes to machlokas, when there's anger and there's a lot of other stuff going on, is it really l'shem shemayim? Is it really worth it? Remember, this is talking about misa here, we're talking about death. But again, when it comes to money, people chap because they know dollars and cents. Okay, I don't know, this is not worth it. When it comes to their own life, people don't always realize. Because they don't live forever. They don't think they live forever. They just don't think. People are just so used to wasting time, especially nowadays. How much time is being wasted? Such an Irish guy. It's even sometimes machlokas can be even better. We use up their time. It's a joke. But people just partially waste time. That has become very, very common, right? Commonplace. Waste of time. There's so much better things we could do using our time for. Machlokas mamash kills. So be very careful. And a person also, what we're saying, let's say it in other words, all the words you may be saying are 100% true. Every word, emes. But if the overall point is selfish, if the overall point is to hurt somebody else, if the overall point is not l'shem shemayim, it's still misa. It's still sheker. Your words might be true, but the overall situation is sheker. What are you doing? It's not pasha. That's what Rabbi Nachman said. We have to look at the end game. We have to look at the tachlis. The person has to see the bigger picture. What's life really about? These are questions that we don't always think about. We just live life. But if that's what he's saying, the whole world is fighting because people aren't paying attention to tachlis. You think the presidents and the country and the dictators of the nations are thinking about the tachlis? They're thinking about one thing: their own kavod, and their own name, and their power, and their influence. If there would be no media, if we would be able to get rid of all media, and everything that presidents and the whatever they're called, the kings and whatever else the prime ministers would do in this world, no one would know. There would probably be so much less fighting. There'd be so much less. No? A lot of it is it's built up on looks and this and hype. The person stays quiet. Life's better. And he says, I guess again, you have to pay attention to the quality of life. What's your quality of life? What are the days of your life? What do they mean to you? Is it really worth the machlokas? I'm right. You again, in the small picture, you're right, but in the bigger picture, is it worth it? Make a cheshbon. Make a cheshbon of your life. It's worth more than money. So Rabbi Nachman says now, he says, V'dasha kol echad. All machlokas, he says, is really one. Whether it's a machlokas, beprati is bein ishu beis, or some person and someone else in his house, two friends, or a machlokas between countries, kings. So he says, right? V'dasha kol echad. Shamachlokas is beprati is bein ishu beis, okay. I would say, hu gam kin mamish hamachlokas shebein hamalachim umos. It's the same exact machlokas. What are you talking about? Nations are fighting over land, territory, influence, power, religion. Nations are fighting over. These are massive, massive fights, big milchamas, battles. What are we fighting over? Like who's taking out the garbage over here? Like household chores. This is totally different. What do you mean? It's kol echad. It's all the same machlokas. What does Rabbi Nachman mean? For a husband and wife are fighting over how you raise the children. So how does that have to do with how's that connected to territorial fights? Who's going to take over Ukraine or something? I don't know. What do you call echad? It's not echad. It's totally different. Yeah, there's fighting going on. Yes, there's the word machlokas is similar throughout everything. No. What do you say? What do you say?
Trying to just gain ground. You're all just trying to gain ground.
Okay.
So it's the same.
So all machlokas is just trying to
Get your...
So we take away all of the stuff that they're fighting about. At the core of it all, at the root of machlokas, the person is trying to get his way. Those are all the same. And why would a person try to get his way? Gaiva, kavod, taiva, kina, taiva, kavod, and gaiva. Right? That's the motivation for a person to want to get his way. I want what I want, taiva. I want kavod. So whether it's over land, or it's over household chores, or whatever it's over, a seat and shul, I don't know. Wherever the machlokas is over money, it all comes back to the same roots. If you take away all the objects, whether they're big or they're small, at the root of the matter, it's a fight over midos. The midos that are motivating the fight. No?
Bad news.
Yeah, bad midos, of course. Kena taiva kavod motzinas adam and olam. Mishnah Pirkei, right? Kena, jealousy, taiva, desires, wants, and kavod. Kena, taiva, kavod. And honor, motzinas adam and olam. He has to leave this world. Because when a person is fighting for those things, it's sheker. Sheker is eina sov l'skayim. The person will not live. Does that mean he's physically going to die? That means he's physically going to die. But he has killed his days. Motzinas adam and olam. It takes a person out of the world. He's killed those hours, those days, those weeks, those months. He doesn't think that. He doesn't see that. He's fighting for his rights. He's fighting for his territory. It's like just like two animals that are fighting for... There's no difference. So really, all fighting, doesn't matter if it's big or small, it all comes down to the same thing. Kena, taiva, kavod, gaiva, kapdonis maybe, you makbid on things. So that's gaiva too. Any midah ra that a person is experiencing, whether it's kas, which is an outgrowth of all these, right? Kas comes because you're jealous, because you have something that you want that you're not getting, because of your kavod or your gaiva. Kas is an outgrowth of that. Right? Kas is usually the midah that's usually machlokas. Right? That's the fire that, right? But it was motivated by something else. Kas doesn't start out of thin air. Kas comes because of something else. It's motivated. You become angry because something happened before that, right? You got triggered. You're kena taiva kavod. When that happens, a person sees life through the midah ra. If a person is currently experiencing He's involved in a midah. It's taken over his system. Anger, let's say, it's taken over his system. And that anger is coming from one of these bad places. That means his vision is skewed. He's not seeing straight. Stam, a person's not angry. Anger means something's off. Unless it's anger de kedusha, which is very, very rare. We're not talking about that. Pretty rare. Can be, but it's rare. Person is very frustrated, very upset. His system's off kilter. His vision is skewed. He's now filled with biases. Right? How could this person make any rational decisions? Any clear choices? How could his das be considered straight? People are so angry. No, but I can think straight. He's like, on fire, angry. No, but I can think straight. I can put this aside. He's like, he's boiling. You're partially delusional. You're a chakran and you're delusional. You don't see straight. First, calm down, and then we can talk. No, I'm calm. You know those people? I am calm. What are you talking about? You're like, But they, in a sick way, they think they're calm because they think they can control it. They think they can stop at any moment. I can stop being angry at any moment I want. Okay, try right now. I don't want to. You can't control it. You're not in control. So how could you possibly think that you're thinking straight? Some people don't. Just Pasha have never thought about it. They never thought it. Is it possible to think straight when you're angry? Or they're just delusional, or they're just shakranim, or they're just, I don't know. It's not possible. Can't you psak that way?
You just triggered like the most things with that tone of voice you used before.
Are you scared? Are you angry? What are you?
It's just I had like crazy memories. I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, but I'm smiling. Hey.
That's the scarier part afterwards. They like try to smile at you, like, see how calm I am. You're like, yeah, that's psycho.
Right, but they think they'll try to convince you. They think that.
Yeah.
You're crazy. So, when the midah ra is flowing through the system, there's no way you could see straight. Of course there's going to be machlokas. And there's for sure no emes there. Or even if there is a little bit of emes, right, maybe the words you're saying are a little bit true, but the whole situation is going to be sheker. You know, a person could say the right words. He could say all words that are true. But if his tone of voice is off, if I don't look at, he's going to be scared. If I look at Chaim and I start yelling at him, do you know that the sky is blue today? Did you see it? A crazy person. Did I say anything wrong? Sky's blue today. True? It's pretty blue. But the tone is just totally off. It's just a crazy person. That sheker. See, the words are true, but the whole thing is sheker. You can't, that's how you speak to people. Be very careful. There's a line. I forgot the line. Like you could say emes, but you're not right. What was it? This whole line.
You said all the right words, but
you're wrong or something.
You said it wrong.
Something like that. There's like a staying.
It's not about what you said, it's how you said it. Or it's not what you said.
Yeah, similar. So the midah ra skewers the person's vision. Right? So all machlokes is going to be boiled down to this. Okay, not all. There can be the Shem Shemayim, but that's pretty rare. And the Shem Shemayim is pretty rare. Unless you really either worked in yourself first, or this situation you've worked through properly. A reactive type of person, and there's going to be a percentage, there's going to be some percentages of the Shem Shemayim maybe, but probably very low. So the midah ra that's motivating the machlokas, or certainly how you're reacting in this situation, has skewed your vision. You're not seeing straight. There's got to be sheker there. Ein sof l'skayim. And now again, you're back to Misa. You're back to a Misa. So you're a dead man walking. So yeah, you're right, but you're dead. Oh yeah, there was a line. Yeah, Mr. Parkov in the B'tachon Shir said this week, we were talking something, not this exact thing, but what do you call it? He said, you're dead right in the middle of the intersection. Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that?
I asked him about it afterwards because it's so good.
Oh, you heard him say?
Yeah.
Were you here?
It was a Sunday morning.
Something like that. You're dead right in the middle of the meaning, it was your turn to make the turn, but somebody else was going, and you're driving, you're honking, you're like, it's my way of turn, and he crashed into you and you died. So you were right because you had the right of way, but you're dead in the middle of the intersection. Shkoyach. Nice to see you. Person has to pay attention to the bigger picture. Once the person's upset, you already lost them. We're trying to prevent the person. Pay attention to what is machlokas. Think about it. Now, some people are naturally not inclined to machlokas at all, at least with other people. We'll get to ourselves soon. That you're not putter from. But other people, they're shy, or they're soft, they're nice, they don't get the machlokas with people, so fine. But for some people, they're ready to fight with everybody. You gotta be very careful. More death and more life. We'll talk about the personal person himself for a second. When we're saying in the forest. But upon him, he goes right there. And he says, "Yeah, so far so good." Yeah, feel he says. Now sometimes he says you have a person who doesn't want to fight. He wants to sit in peace, but yet he gets pulled into a fight. He gets pulled into a machlokas. He says he'd rather, he's merutza l'shtachas l'chaver. He wants to, I'll give you tribute, I'll give you this. I just don't fight with me. Let me be neutral. I just want to be Sweden. You know?
It's my fault.
Whatever. Yeah, it's my fault. Just okay. But yet, the two sides around him, or even if it's one side, they pull him in. There's two major midas that are being activated when it comes to machlokas and trying to stop fights. We have netzach and we have hod. Right? You ever hear of netzach and hod? I'm sure some people have heard netzach and hod. Right? Chesed gevurah first, netzach hod. Netzach to be menatzeach means to be victorious. Hod means to concede. Hod. To imoda. To give in. Lamaisa, we have both serious. Lamaisa, you have to deal with both serious. You're never putter. Sometimes you have to be menatzeach. Sometimes you don't want to fight. You have to be menatzeach. Sometimes you want to fight, but you're really supposed to be moda. That's a chanot. These are two spheres that have to be understood. Because, as Menachem is saying, and there's going to be times where a person's going to get pulled in. And you have to know how to fight properly. You can't just lose yourself. You're gonna get pulled in. So does that mean you take a machine gun and you start shooting everybody? See the faces here. Well, maybe. Well, you should have started with me. But there's still the Kadosh Baruch Hu wants big things from each person. We don't know. This is Yesod Klal. Yesod Klali in all of Avodas Hashem. We don't know exactly what our best self is, what it looks like. We try, but we don't really know. We have no idea then what he's going to have to put us through to get us to that place. This is an Indian of Amun and Bitachon. To believe in Kadosh Baruch Hu, to trust him, that he knows what is our best self, yes? And he will get us to that place. But you have to be willing, you have to be mavata yourself. Because often, if not in a certain way, always, the deepest parts of who we are, the deepest goodness, has to be pulled out, and it's going to be uncomfortable. Because if it was so comfortable, it'd be there already. It would be who you are. So sometimes he has to squeeze, and he has to squeeze, and he has to push, and he has to pull. And sometimes he sends people. Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't come down and just squeeze you. Sometimes he does. Avram and Sarah, they didn't have a child. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years. So who did that to Sarah and Manu? Kadosh Baruch Hu, that's clear. There's no person there. Now it's for them to work on themselves. Chazal tells us. Kadosh Baruch Hu wants the tefillas. Kadosh Baruch Hu wants the emunah. He wants the ne'amanas, the trustworthiness, that they'll still be faithful in their service of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, even if they didn't get what they want. Right? Mm-hmm. He squeezed it out of them. Yitzchak Avinu came out of that. Not Pasha. Right? You want a big son like Yitzchak, you sometimes have to wait. But when there's another person involved, especially when you didn't want to get involved with something and that person is irking you and you just want them to go away, and yet they come back for some more, and they come back for some more, and they pull you into machlokas. You never know what a Kadosh Baruch Hu is doing over here. Right?
Love him.
Lavan and Yaakov. The madrigas that Yaakov came to, and he had to use things that he didn't want to use. Yaakov, the Ish Emes, had to go against Emes to trick Lavan, the trickster. Yet he got tricked. But Yaakov wanted to say a lie. Yaakov didn't want to say any lies. He didn't even want to pretend to be Yosef until his mother forced him into it. Right? But sometimes HaKadosh Baruch Hu forces us into other things because there's an Emes Lamita. There's a higher level of Emes. So a person has to know about Machlokas. He has to know about Netzach. He has to know about Hod. Because even if you do get pulled in one day, deal with it. You can't be a baby about it. You have to learn how to do it. That doesn't mean don't start swinging necessarily. You have to know how to still play, still fight properly. Netzach and Hod. Yeah? Should we start the next part now? Because now, I don't know if I start the next part now. Because even after what we discussed right now is that a person fighting with other people, nations that are fighting the Midas Ros. So all of this that we're discussing right now has been dealing with you and somebody else. A beso, a spouse, a friend, whoever it is. So this person, like Rabbi Nachman says, what's going to happen? So the guy's like, okay, I can't deal with this stuff. I don't want to fight with anybody. So let me just run away. Sometimes a person is just going to run to the forest. He's going to stay away from everything. Not going to talk to anybody. I'm going to run away. In his way, whatever that means. I'm a hermit. Right? Never talk. So you think you're Potter? You're not Potter from these fights. From these Midas Ros. Because even if you sit with yourself in a forest, you have every single Midah, every single nation is still inside of you, he says, or Nachman says. And if a person doesn't know how to deal with these different parts of himself, he can end up being a Meshugana. Because, I think we'll pause at this, but a person is more biased to himself or against himself. He's either with himself or he's against himself more than with any other person. Because it's you yourself. And therefore, a person's going to make the most mistakes, potentially, with himself. You're with yourself all day. You're judging yourself all day. If you don't see straight, you're going to make the most mistakes with yourself. And then Mela, it's going to create problems on the outside. If a person was truly whole on the inside, he wouldn't have as many problems on the outside. If you have a lot of problems on the outside, you should just know you have a lot of problems on the inside. All right, I think we'll continue with that part next week. It's a show.